Hello, and you're very, very welcome along to another episode of the JMac podcast. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by orgretch.com. Use promo code JMac podcast to get 15% off on their website. And tonight, I'm joined by GA Fan TV host and creator Aaron Prendergast and GA Statsman Matthew Hurley to talk about last weekend's club action and this weekend's club action. So lots happening, lots taking place, and it's really come to the boil now. Mr. Prendergast, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, John. Doing good. As you were saying off air there, it's Thursday night, so Europa League action full and far between, and obviously a famous win there for Man United. One that they'll be talking about for years. But your look, no, doing good, doing good. Excited to run through some more GA action, all the rest. Like definitely a very busy weekend of club action. Like so many county finals. And then obviously provincial games this weekend as well, like kicking off obviously in Leinster and Ulster. So no, I'm excited to watch them all, and yeah, delighted to be back on.
Brilliant stuff, man. Good to hear. Good to hear. And I love that little dig about the Europa League. You don't know the way Liverpool's moved at the minute. Who knows? But he could be next year.
Well, the way it's looking, we probably won't even be in Europe at all. So.
Oh, good stuff, Mr. Hurley. Hide them posters. Mr. G. Statsman, how are you?
All good now, John. Yeah, as we were talking about off air there, yeah, the Europa League nights. But one thing we could all agree on, whether we're Liverpool or Man United fans, is Rangers the worst team in Champions League history. That was brilliant to see. Both again bouncing off the walls. It was brilliant to see there. But yeah, the GA is fully back into action now. The club finals last weekend, and we see actually Kilmacud on Sunday. It's probably my first time watching it in full. So if I get the chance, obviously on Sunday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to watching the provincial action this weekend as well.
Great stuff, great stuff. Before we go on, Mr. Prendergast, where can everyone find your channel?
Yeah, they can find it on YouTube at GEA Fan TV. If they just search GEA Fan TV, they can find it there. Find it on Instagram as well at GEA Fan TV. Do plenty of content on the club action. Usually one of yourselves on. We kind of rotate you out 1 week after the other. But fantasy football.
we feel used and abused, Aaron. We feel used and abused.
Yeah, I'll have to get both of you on at some point at the same time. But yeah, you can usually find me there. Lots of club action, club content, all the rest, and. Yeah, very, very much enjoying it so far. Can find it on Instagram as well, GA Fan TV, Facebook, Twitter. So yeah.
Beautiful stuff, Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, you can find the same platforms really, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and all that, J_Statsman on Twitter, J__Statsman on Instagram, and loads of other platforms. I've been doing a podcast over the summer, but obviously I've been a work experience with the Southern Star down in Cork, so if you want to catch me on podcast there, I did a few interviews with Beara chairpersons and things like that, so if you want to check that out, go to the Southern Star podcast or Star Sport West Cork on Twitter.
Beautiful stuff. Good stuff, lads. Good stuff. And you are working incredibly hard at it. And great to see you are getting the riches for it. And I suppose, lads, we can touch on to last weekend's club action. So much happening. On Sunday, the 30th of October, night before Halloween, it was the Clare Senior Football Championship final between Aero Guinness. It was 9 points. Ennis. Oh, we got this name wrong last week, Matthew, so we'll have to be very careful. Ennis, do you want to maybe pronounce if I F it up?
I'll have a go at it. Ennis Timon.
There we go. Ennis Timon, 6 points, and that game took place in Cusack Park. Good win for Aero. Aaron, obviously, Clare football is really, really, climbing up trees these days. And obviously, the Colin Collins is staying put with the Clare senior footballers, and they'll be delighted with that news. And obviously, Owen Cleary was nominated for an All-Star last Friday. So I suppose maybe not the highest scoring game, but Aero Guinness would not give an SHITE.
No, definitely not. I think they would have just went into the game just hoping for a win. Like definitely low scoring enough, like 9 points to 6. Maybe conditions probably played a big part. But yeah, like I haven't seen too much of them play, but like just looking at some of their players on their team, like they do have Darren O'Neill in there, who'd be sort of a notable inter-county player with the Clare team, and you've got Gavin Cooney as well. So they've got a good couple of players, and I think they're playing the Noir next time out in the Munster Club Football Championship, and to get over that, they play Cairns O'Rahilly's. And to be fair, like I think the in Munster, like I think Cairns O'Rahilly's they're quite inconsistent. I don't know if they're the best team in Kerry, to be perfectly honest. When you look at their record, like they've won one game in the last 4 between both championships, which isn't really the type of form you'd usually see for a team going into the provincial club championship. So no, look, I think Aero Guinness, big result, big win for them, and obviously they'll be playing the Noir next time out from Waterford, and they'll probably fancy their chances there as well. So big result for Aero Guinness, and I think it's back-to-back county titles now as well for them. So fair play.
Absolutely. And then moving on to the Cork Senior Football Championship final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It was Nemo Rangers 116, St. Finbarrs 2-9. And Mr. Hurley, obviously, you went to this game, you seen it, in front view, and obviously a great win for Nemo Rangers, obviously beating a very favoured St. Finbarrs team, and Luke Connolly obviously playing a starring role. So, Mr. Hurley, you're at it. What was the verdict on it?
Yeah, I backed St. Finbarrs to do well in the All-Ireland series. I was thinking they'd put it up to Kilmacud eventually in the All-Ireland semi-final, but a load of Nemo players, Connolly, Micheál Martin, Paul Kerrigan, they just shut us all up and beat them. It was a brilliant performance from Nemo Rangers. And I thought they wanted it more in the first half. They just tore into the Bars, and the Bars just weren't expecting, really. Like, they performed well against Kilcoo last year's All-Ireland semi-final, and they were thinking this is a stepping stone to go on to great for better things. But Nemo, they just waited in the long grass, and their record in finals is absolutely remarkable. They've only lost to 2 club sides in Cork in their whole history in a final. So it's incredible that way. One of those was to an All-Ireland champion in 1992 with O'Donnell Rossa from Skibbereen. So, it tells you the record in Cork finals is absolutely unreal. And Luke Connolly, 8 points, 3 from play, outstanding. Conor Horgan, the goal he got, so I think you saw it in TG Carr and the Irish Examiner as well. The lob, I know it was a bad kick up by John Kearns initially, but the lob was brilliant. It was a brilliant spot him off the design, and it looked like Nemo were going to run away with it. But the Bars, they showed great resolve in the end, like Billy Hennessy and Brian Hayes getting goals, but they lost it in the end. And now Nemo faced Clonmel Commercials in the first round of Munster, and a few seasons ago Clonmel beat them, so Nemo should be wary of the challenge. But Luke Connolly, I've seen his interview on Off the Ball this morning as well, and he's delighted with the victory, and the whole Nemo team are delighted just to shut up the haters, really.
Obviously, magnificent win, and obviously, I suppose, Matthew, like Luke Connolly kicking 8 points, and I know he has kind of took time away from the Cork panel, and I suppose the big thing coming away from that game is, I suppose, the Cork lads, it's absolutely essential to get that man back in. When he's hot, he's hot. He's a great forward, so he has to be part of Cork's plans next year.
You would think so, yeah, with the form he's in. He's definitely a skillful footballer. I said on Aaron's podcast on Tuesday night that he has the skill sets of the likes of Sean O'Shea or Rian O'Neill or any top player in the country, or Shane Walsh or whatnot. But my issue with Connolly probably would be his temperament. He in the McGrath Cup final this year, he scored a simple chance against Kerry to maybe get back into the game. And I just think he makes the wrong option sometimes, makes the passing complicated or something like that, and it's just a simple punt, but he does it with the outside of the boot, that sort of thing. I just think he kind of has to cut that out of his game, but when he's on it, like he was against the Bars, he's a brilliant forward, one of the best forwards in the country, really. And I remember one of his kicks against Mayo to take it to extra time in a qualifier, and he has that in his locker. He's a skillful footballer, but I just think he just needs to calm down the temperament a small bit and make the right option with a pass or whatnot. And but I think the forwards we have at the moment is absolutely brilliant, and you wouldn't notice that with the situation Cork is in. Sherlock is a brilliant forward. I know he didn't play well the last day, but he's still an outstanding player. Brian Hurley's brilliant. Carl O'Mahony, obviously Luke Connolly there. Owen McSweeney has potential as well. Conor Corbett coming back from a long-term injury from the minor level. Blake Murphy as well. Mark Cronin. You have a lot of them forward, so there'll be a lot of competition. And I suppose healthy competition, that's what John Cleary wants for next season. And look at Division 2 next year, that'll be incredibly tough. So for a side that's considered an underdog, that's not bad options to have in the forward line.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a great win for Nemo Rangers, which was, I suppose, the St. Finbarrs end of things, matching obviously, you being at the game, how big of an upset was this? Because obviously we've seen the power and strength of Finbarrs last year. They're hotly tipped to maybe have another journey like they did last year. So I suppose what happened to them?
it's just I don't think they were ready for the battle in the first few minutes. I just think Nemo were like I signified this in multiple podcasts and stuff like that, and looking match reports and stuff like that, and obviously watching the game. Even for the first trope, you would think Maguire and Owen Commons or Brian Hayes would go in and win it. But Alan O'Donovan and Barry Cripps just spoiled it, really, and they won the ball. And from that moment on, Nemo just were well up for it. And that was the main difference of the game. And Nemo's tackling, I don't think the Bars were actually ready for it. I know a lot of people will say, like, Bars are taking one game at a time and, they're not that kind of team. But it kind of looked that way to me in Park Cleveland on Sunday. I just thought Nemo, their tackling was absolutely ferocious. Mark Cronin going back, and even their defender, Kevin O'Donovan, just a prime example now. O'Donovan went on Stephen Sherlock, which would be considered a really, really big task. But it ended up Sherlock getting 1 point for play, Kevin O'Donovan getting 1 point for play. And actually, it turned out Sherlock was marking Kevin O'Donovan more than he was marking Sherlock. So it was incredible that way that Nemo got their tactics spot on. They got their intensity spot on. I don't think the Bars were actually ready for it. Maybe they were thinking ahead to maybe a Kieran Rallies or Kilmacud Crokes at the semi-final. I know that's probably, not good attitude at the same time, but it kind of looked that way, I thought. I thought Nemo, a lot of people like Connolly and Martin were saying after the game, a lot of people disrespected him, including myself, to be honest with you. I didn't expect a performance like this, but they produced it and they won the game at the end, and maybe they'll go on a monster run now, similar to the Bars did last season.
It'll be very interesting to follow the journey. Obviously, you can remember the great James Masters, Tomas O'Shea, even playing for Nemo Rangers back in the day. And obviously, it's great to see that tradition being carried on. But that is a disappointing result for some Finn Bars, make no doubt about it. And moving on to the Fermanagh Senior Football Championship final in Brewster Park, it was Enniskillen Gales 3-12. Aaron Gales 11 points on Enniskillen Gales go on to play Gowna now in the next round, or the first round of Ulster, so it'll be an interesting game. But I suppose, Aaron, this game was rescheduled, and obviously it was played last Sunday after a waterlogged pitch, but Enniskillen, it's a very convincing win over a pretty decent Aaron Gales team.
Yeah, great win. Like I was looking at the highlights on TG Cahir on Monday night, and Conor Love scoring 2-1, two very, very nicely taken goals, to be fair. And he's been sort of an up and coming player that Fermanagh fans have been talking about. Hasn't really made the breakthrough just yet, but certainly he'd be a player maybe for Fermanagh fans to watch out for in the next few years. But yeah, look, it was a big win, and I certainly wouldn't sleep on Enniskillen, because obviously they beat Derry Gonley Harps as well, in the semi-finals, who made it to an Ulster final last year. So no, look, it was a big win. They've a lot of very good players, and obviously playing Gowna in the opening round of the Ulster Club Championship. I'm not too sure where that game's going to be, but I'm sure Enniskillen will fancy their chances. I know Gowna might fancy their chances as well, but
Enniskillen, I think it's going to be an Enniskillen.
Yeah. So yeah, you'd look at it there, and Enniskillen probably maybe going in as slight favourites in my opinion, but yeah, no, that was a great result. 3 goals, 3-12. Conor Love looking the real deal. So yeah, big win.
Absolutely. And obviously Enniskillen Gales will have loads of confidence from that game. And then obviously moving on to the Galway Senior Football Championship final that took place in Pearse Stadium. It was Moycullen 1-10, Salthill Knocknacara 1-9. And I suppose, Matthew, disappointment for Finian Hanley. Obviously, he's a coach with the Salthill lads. It's a 1-point loss in the county final. Probably not more of a heartbreaking defeat than that. But Moycullen won't care. They will be happy going into that Connacht Championship.
Yeah, and they would have been underdogs, Salthill Knocknacara, going into the game. Moycullen, after beating Ballymonach, a lot of people were thinking they'd walk this game in general, but they needed a last-minute goal for Peter Cook, and if anybody didn't see it, it was a dramatic late winner, really. He got ahead of the goalkeeper and pounced and put it into the net, and maybe there's an argument that Peter Cook should be back at the Galway team now. I always rated him as a footballer. I think he's an excellent midfielder. He drives up the field very well. But he hasn't been over the last few years because I think he was in America last season or something. So he will be putting up his hand now to Porridge Ice over the next year or so. But Moycullen, they'll be a threat now in the Connacht Championship, and I think they'll play Westport in the first round. So that should be a very tasty encounter in the Connacht Championship. And I'm not sure who is home advantage now. I think it's Moycullen. I'm not entirely sure though, but it should be a very fascinating encounter there. And Galway champions always seem to do well. Like you look at Mount Billy Boylock, they kind of got unlucky last season. Corfin, we all know about them, the adventures they've been on. So I think Cullen could make a run at an All Ireland. Maybe they're the Connacht champions play the Ulster champions in the semi-finals. So maybe there's an opportunity there for Cullen to go on an All Ireland journey. But overall, brilliant victory. But they did it by the skin of their teeth. And Salty Knocknacara would be very, very disappointed with this result, despite their brilliant performance.
Yeah, obviously, they will be back, no doubt about it. But I think it was a great chance for Salthill to get their hands back on that cup, obviously that they won many years ago. But no doubt they'll be back. But Cullen, on they go, and obviously in the Kerry Senior Football Championship final that took place last Sunday, it was live on TG4 in Austin Stack Park. It was East Kerry 116, Mid Kerry 10 points. And Aaron, I suppose we were talking off air, but it's great. David Clifford kicking, I think, was it 9+ points. He is just a remarkable talent. Need we say more about the man? And obviously, James Donoghue in the same full forward line with him, Paddy Clifford on the half forward line. The ball from Paddy Clifford going into David at times was absolutely unbelievable. I don't think, let's be honest, Mid Kerry really ever had a chance in this game, let's be fair.
Yeah, no, they definitely didn't. Like it was almost unfair in some ways, like looking at the two teams, like Mid Kerry, would be more just club players. They've no real notable, there's no inter-county players in there that I'd recognise anyway. Whereas East Kerry, have stars like Paul O'Shea even on the bench, which is kind of really shows their depth. But yeah, as you were saying before, like it was an unbelievable performance from David Clifford. I mean, to score 1-9 in a county final, like he's now the type of player that really turns up for the big occasion now as well, which I think is going to make him arguably the greatest ever. When we look back, like he's doing it in All Ireland finals, he's doing it in county finals, and even as I was saying to Matthew on Tuesday, like he's not just scoring goals and points, but he's setting up other players, he's contributing, he's doing so much off the ball as well, which probably a lot of people don't see. So no, it was an incredible performance from him and a big win for East Kerry. I think that's 3 county titles now in 4 years for the East Kerry men. So huge. And I watched them play live against Kenmare Shamrocks and in the semi-finals versus Dingle as well. And like I didn't really think they were that great, to be honest. Like they just about got over the line against Dingle. Like they were losing in injury time, and they got a free, got a score out of it, and then Paul Murphy just scored an absolute worldie. So they hadn't looked great really up until this final. So that's why I was kind of thinking like Mid Kerry maybe like could catch them on an off day, but definitely wasn't the case. Like it was really, really one-sided. And yeah, I suppose for the East Kerry fans, they'll be delighted with that one.
And yeah, I suppose Aaron kind of watching on to the game on TG4, like everyone probably was, probably for the David Clifford show. Like at times, I kind of know obviously East Kerry like really were kind of struggling, like basically any team Mid Kerry did struggle with David Clifford's influence on the game, but at times it was just unbelievable to watch. The ball, Paddy was getting like outside the foot, left balls in, and even Clifford, the clips going around to him, just catching the ball on the ground, having the wherewithal to get up, kick the ball over the bar. Like I know we were saying off air, you could probably do a whole podcast on the man, but like it is absolutely remarkable at times what this man is doing on the field of play.
Yeah, it is. Like I mean, it's so unnatural a lot of the time as well. Like even I think we've seen that video where like the ball's been kicked into him, and he's basically he's got the ball before the ball even bounces. Like it's just so unnatural. He just knows. It's like instinctive. And that's why when I was saying before, he's like one of those players like in soccer, even with Messi, for example, where he'd be running with the ball and he'd almost defy physics the way he was moving with the ball. Like it's kind of incredible. Like he just thinks 2-3 steps ahead, and it's just natural. It's not even trained. Like I'm sure obviously he does work on his game. Like when you look at his physical size now and a couple of years ago, like he's obviously bulked up quite a bit. And, he's improving at his game all the time. But a lot of those skills, a lot of the time, it's just natural. And even at times as well, I've said, like, when he's running with the ball and he's kind of sizing up defenders and running past them and even kicking off his left or right, like, it's very unusual. Like, he doesn't even have much of a wind-up. He sort of just, he's just there and does it. So, he's an unbelievable player. And, he could be like the next Christy Ring or Jimmy Doyle or something of that nature. Like he could be the next big player that sort of, come out of, the next Pat Spillane, Bernard Brogan, next big player that sort of everyone talks about 20, 30 years down the line. He really could be.
Yeah, no, he's just a remarkable talent. And you were saying off air, he goes into a junior final for his club Fossa this weekend, and then he wins the All-Star on Friday night last. And yeah, I think it's David Clifford's world, and we're all just living in it, lads. He is just sensational. Obviously, Paulie, a great game. James Dunn, a great game as well. But DC stole the show, lads. And moving on to the Mayo Senior Football Championship Final in McHale Park. It was Westport 1-9, Ballina Stephen Knights 1-6. And I suppose, Matthew, we were talking about this game last week. The impact Lee Keegan was going to have in this game. He had a huge impact. He got his hands on that Mayo Senior Championship. I wouldn't say he can get drift off in the sunset, because obviously Mr. McStay will want him about in the Mayo team, but he'll be happy man this week, no doubt.
He will, yeah, and he deserved every accolade he got in this Mayo Senior Football Championship. Like, what a win for them. And like Aaron was mentioning in his podcast a few days ago, they was actually lined out to play midfield. I'm not sure did he actually play there or not, but to be honest, like, he can play in any position. Like, he's absolutely incredible that way. Like, you've seen him for Mayo a few times, maybe underage, play in the forward line. Like, he's that good. Maybe he could play in goal. Who knows? Like, he's that kind of a player. He's incredible in a way. But yeah, they all played their part in fairness. Like, Kevin Kane actually was corner forward, apparently. So that was the guy that Mark Michael in the 2012 Ireland final, and you wouldn't have expected him in the forward line. So good for him. Got a point in that final as well. So fair play to him. Kilkenny got a goal and a point from play, so pretty performance by him. Alan Kennedy, Paddy O'Malley in goal, like, very good performances all over the field. They're doing this without Owen McLaughlin, who's injured. Like, this is incredible from this Westport side, and a few others are injured as well, so it kind of shows the strength and depth that this Westport team have, and it's kind of a surprise. This is their first ever Mayo Senior Football Championship. Like, it's incredible in a way. Yeah, they'll be a dark horse for the All-Ireland, I think, this Westport side. It's written to the stars for Lee Keegan, I think. And to be honest, nobody would begrudge Westport winning the All-Ireland, and nobody would begrudge Lee Keegan. He's that kind of a player, that kind of an influence. So, yeah, they're well on the road. Another player that's worth mentioning as well, Mark Bourne. Like, I seen him a few years ago. God, it was after lockdown. He's an incredibly skillful player, and he's playing centre forward for them. And they all over the field. Owen McLaughlin missing, as I said. So, yeah, Westport probably have one of the strongest squads left in the All-Ireland Club Championship. So they'll be definitely a team to watch.
It'd be interesting to track their journey. I suppose, Aaron, would you agree with any of that? Like, are we talking about all Ireland contenders here? I know, obviously, Lee Keegan would be absolutely mad to get it. I know, obviously, we'll talk maybe about a Connacht title first, and who knows, into the All Ireland series. But like, are they in that conversation to win, an All Ireland title?
Yeah, I think they'll have to get past Mike Cullen first. I think that's going to be, because that's who they're playing in the opening round of the Connacht Club Championship. So that's going to be the real big test, I think, to see where they're at. But look, they beat Ballina. Like, Ballina, I think it scored like 14 goals or something like that in the championship before the final. Like, they were heavy favourites in most people's eyes. So yeah, like, the fact that they came through that and sort of nullified them, I think has been critical. And I was looking through their scores even there, like in the Mayo Club Championship. They haven't conceded too much game on game, so clearly, like, they're doing a lot of good work defensively, which could really stand to them in the All-Ireland Club Championship. You see a lot of teams kind of be a lot more defensive a lot of the time, especially with weather conditions and everything else. So yeah, look, they've definitely got a lot of players, a lot of talent in there, as we mentioned with Lee Keegan, who's obviously the obvious one, and Mark Moore and everything else. They've got plenty of good players. Like, it would be tough for them definitely to beat Mike Cullen. Like, the Galway sides tend to always do well in Connacht. And Mike Cullen having beaten Mountbelly, Moyloch, getting over the line against Salt Hill. Like, that'll be the big one. Like, I think you're probably looking at the winners of Connacht coming from that game. And then obviously in a semi-final, I think they'll be playing the Ulster winners, I think. So look, you never know after that, but I think Mike Cullen will definitely be the first big test anyways, and I think we'll really kind of see more about what they're made of in that game, I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And so let's moving on to the Tyrone Senior Football Championship final at O'Neill's Healy Park. It was Ergel Huron 2-11, Carrickmore 1-12. Carrickmore just coming up short to Derek Canavan and Rory Canavan show, lads. I've seen a picture after the game, and it was Peter Canavan beside his two sons, the sons of God, lads. It's a frightening prospect for the future. But Eric Kieran are Tyrone Senior Football Champions for 2022, Mr. Prendergast.
They are, yeah. Like it was a huge win for Ergo Kieran. Like they obviously hadn't won a county title, I think, since 2013. So to get over the line, absolutely massive. And yeah, like they've a lot of very good players, as you mentioned, like Dara Canavan. Obviously, Rory Canavan's really burst onto the scene this year, and I think we'll see a lot more of him with the Tyrone seniors next year. Obviously, Peter Hart in there as well, sort of playing around midfield. So no, look, it was a big test. I mean, it was a close game towards the end. Like from looking at the highlights, like I think Martin Penrose got a goal for Carrickmore in the closing stages, made it a little bit more nervy, sort of going down the home stretch. But no, look, big result for them to get over the line. Like they got the job done against Dungannon in the quarterfinals, again in the semi-finals. You know, and I think the interesting thing is like Tyrone teams normally don't do too well in the Ulster Club Championship, and I think they're playing Watty Graham's Glen in the opening match. So, like that's going to be a real mouth-watering game. But the thing with the Canavans as well, like is, as we've seen them play before, like they're very, very gifted footballers, obviously getting it from their dad. And I mean, it's going to be tough for defenders to deal with them. So, no, look, fair play, huge results. And I'm sure the Monday Club celebrations with the Canavans and the Hearts, I'm sure it was, I'm sure that there must be like royalty in those parts.
Yeah, the Kings of Tyrone, the future Kings and the old Kings. Mr. Hurley, Tyrone football is in a very, very good place. Obviously, that served up a thrilling game at the weekend, and Eric Kieran just came out on top.
Yeah, but I always found with the Tyrone Championship, even watching it last year, like I've been so invested with the Cork Championship, I haven't even got the chance to watch the Tyrone Championship. But even last year and the year before that, I was so impressed with the Tyrone Championship. Just the entertainment of it was incredible. And, I think there was a stat there before Eric Kieran won it. There was 10 different winners in the last 10 years. I think that's kept on going now. So it's incredible. It really is incredible. And it just shows how competitive the championship is. But what comes with that is what Aaron just mentioned there. They don't particularly do well in the Ulster Championship after that. Like Tyrone football is in a good state. Like Dara Canavan, Peter Canavan, Rory Canavan, geez, Peter would even talk out again.
Don't get him to play again. Christ, give the rest of us a chance. Mother of God.
Exactly. Yeah. And even Peter Hart there, Martin Penrose will get Martin Penrose. So yeah, the Tyrone Championship produces very good players, but they don't necessarily do well at the Ulster Club Championship. Maybe that's a plan to save their players for the Alliance League. Maybe that is the case. But genuinely, if Eric Kieran got someone like an Enniskillen or a Ballybay or someone like that, or a Cargan from Antrim, they'd actually do well in the Ulster Championship and gain some confidence.
You know.
I didn't want to mention Gona, no, John.
I was watching you. I was waiting for you to say it.
If I didn't Gona, I'd be in huge trouble. So,
oh God, yeah.
But like Watty Graham's Glen, I see that the odds that Paddy Power are the favourites to win Ulster. So yeah, I think they were lucky against Kilcoo last year. They'll be going for an All-Ireland definitely this year. Their aspirations is beyond Ulster. So like, and you look at all over Watty Graham's Glen team. Like I know Eric Kieran have some good players. I do rate them. But I just think Watty Graham's Glen will have too much for them. I think they're an unbelievable. They've all unbelievable players all over the field. Emmett Bradley and Conor are probably the best club partnership in midfield in the country. You're probably the best manager in the country in Malky O'Rourke there as well. Yeah. So it's going to be very, very tough.
In the country. Do you rate him that highly at the minute?
In club level, particularly, yes. Yeah,
I think so. I'd agree with that, yeah.
But yeah, he's an incredible manager and could even go back into inter-county before his time is done. So, yeah, he's an incredible manager. They have an incredible team, Watty Graham's Glen. So, I do think Eric Kieran will end up falling short of the Ulster Championship. But their players, I'm very impressed with their team, looking at their players all over the field. And they play a nice brand of football. And I'm not forgetting, in 2020, they were very unlucky against Dungannon. They went 2 goals ahead or something like that. And then Dungannon somehow pulled it back in extra time. So, they were lucky that season, but they got the job done this season. But I'm not sure will they get over the line against Watty Graham's Glen. That'll be an almighty task altogether.
Yeah, I suppose But you on that kind of point, obviously, with Rory and Derek Canavan, like, do you feel maybe, like, I don't go wrong, they're supremely good players, and obviously the likes of Peter Hart there as well. But do you feel maybe, is it maybe, like, I know obviously Peter Hart would love to kind of do it this year, but do you feel maybe, like, is it a year too soon for that Ergal Kieran team just because it's, it's just has that bit of youth, or maybe now is the time, or what would be your opinion on that?
Look, I think they're well developed now. Like, you look at Rory Canavan, right now he's an incredible footballer. I see him in the under-20 final against Kildare. He's just a specimen of a footballer. He's incredibly scored record. I think he was the top scorer in the under-20, the whole under-20 championship for Tyrone last season. And he was outstanding. Darragh Canavan is a footballer I've always rated. Like, I watched him in an under-20 semi-final against Cork, and I thought he was superb. He's a technically gifted footballer. Both of them could be as good as their. This is a bit far though, but could the two of them be as good as their dad? I'm not sure about that now. Would that be a controversial comment?
They're on their way, maybe. On the way, it's a...
Maybe, yeah. They're incredible footballers. And I was saying it on our podcast as well that Peter Hart is probably one of the most underrated players in the country. So they have him.
Of all time, nearly, yeah.
He's an incredible footballer. And he goes in under the radar just because he plays defender sometimes. He plays, I think, for Ergal Kieran. I might be wrong on that, but he's an incredible footballer himself. So, like, they have an incredible team all over the park. So I think, look, as I said, if they face like a Carrigan or an Enniskillen, or I'd say no, a Gona, they could actually do well in those. Like, what a great Prospect Lane, Kilcoo, Naomh Conal from Donegal. Like, there's some very good sides in Ulster, and maybe the Ulster Club Championship is as good as the County Championship.
There's some unbelievable teams in it. I don't know who tweeted that the other day. My God, it's ferocious stuff, lads.
It is now, yeah. It's an incredible championship, and should be very interesting to watch. And even this weekend, Prospect Lane are playing Ballybay. I'll definitely watch that.
Oh, lads, Saturday night, you have the rugby and then you have the Gaelic. Oh, it's a few points, but I don't know, will you be let out, AP, after last weekend's festivities?
I don't know, yeah, we'll see. Like, I'm going to be going to the Kilmacrooks. What am I saying? Kilmacrook Crooks. I don't know who Crooks are. I definitely won't be seeing them. Anyway, Kilmacrooks Crooks, nice. We've seen them play, and I'm going to that game on Sunday, I think.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
If all goes to plan. So, I don't know. I might save the head maybe for Sunday. We'll see. You never quite know in the lovely city that is Dublin. But yeah, no, like, it's definitely an evening for sport. Anyway, I might have to tell the girlfriend to, I don't know, just go shopping or something.
Go out the Blanche, off you go. Yeah, that's good stuff, lads. And I suppose moving on to the Waterford Senior Football Championship final in Walsh Park, it was Denier. 10 points, Rat Gormac, 8 points. She's all the pronunciations today, lads. Club football is ruining us. Mr. AP, what was the thoughts on that game?
Yeah, look, special result for the small pocket of Waterford football fans. So you kind of forget they nearly play football a lot of the time.
Oh, jeez. Don't be using my podcast to give people abuse. I'm not having it.
I know, look, in fairness now, there are a lot of the hurlers actually do play football as well. Like, I've seen Desi Hutchinson plays for Galtier, and actually Conor Gleeson, funnily enough, who would be very well known with the Waterford hurlers, he was actually playing for Denier and kicked 4 points. So maybe if a lot of I think if a lot of the Waterford hurlers could play dual county and play for the footballers, maybe you'd see a bit of an improvement of Waterford football, in fairness. But no, look, it's a big result for Denier. Like, in a similar fashion to Aero Guinness, like, they're going into that game. Like, I think it's going to be an even enough game. I don't think there's that much of a big jump with Kerins or Rahleys. I know they have a lot of very good players. So who knows? Look, I think it was a couple of years ago where Denier nearly got to a Munster final or something like that. So they've a lot of very, very good players. They have a lot of potential, and who knows? Certainly from the Monday Club celebrations, anyway, it definitely looked like a wild one in the little town of Waterford. Great place, Waterford, in fairness.
Yeah,
have to win them back now.
Yeah. Get them back on track, my man. Get them back on track. Beautiful stuff, lads. Last weekend's action all wrapped up, and moving on to this weekend's action, lads. Saturday, the 5th of November, Ulster Club Senior Football Championship Round 1, Crossmaglen Rangers against Ballybay and the Athletic Grounds at 7:15. And as Matthew was saying, it's live on RTE2, lads. That is certainly a game to look forward to. Mr. Hurley, both teams in very good form at the minute. Crossmaglen, as me and you talked about last week, Keane McConville, absolutely fine. Aaron Kerr and Jamie Clark, all the boys really going at it. Ballybay and the things, Paul Finlay, the evergreen Paul Finlay, still going strong at the age of 65. What's the thoughts ahead of this one?
Is he really 65, John? Or Jesus.
I nearly had you convinced.
Jesus, so I'd say you're being way too harsh for poor Paul there. But again, with Crossmaglen, you forgot to mention main guy as well, Shane O'Neill. O'Sheen O'Neill as well. So.
Sorry, Mr. O'Neill. Sorry, Mr. O'Neill. And there's talk of him trying to, like, the people thought they should have got an All-Star last Friday as well, but just came up short. Yeah,
he's an incredible footballer, and it probably is that the fact you forgot to mention the amount of footballers that Crossmaglen actually have. An incredible. So yeah, and like Jamie Clark, I'm not sure did he actually score the Ulster final. Like it just shows they've players all over the field. Darren Curran is still doing it, and they've an incredible side. And Crossmaglen, I think the main objective for them was to get over the Armagh hurdle, to get over Greenmore. They did so with flying colours. Like they scored 119. That was an incredible scoring rate in an Armagh final. So incredible scoring rate from them. And Ballybay, they beat Scottstown unexpectedly, should I say, in that Monaghan final.
Lads, we all had heavy weekends last weekend, but come on, we really upped up our game now. Come on.
Don't worry.
I have a few more in me. Don't worry. Go on, Mr. Earlier, Sid.
Sure, I was just going to say that Ballybay, they beat Scottstown against the grain, really. Like Scottstown, a lot of people were saying we're going to win the Monaghan Championship, maybe can make a run at the Ulster Championship, but didn't turn out that way. Like Ballybay, they seem like a good side, but expects like Crossmaglen to have some fire in their belly, and like the winners of this face Kilcoo. So if Crossmaglen make a draw, I don't want to offend any Monaghan people or whatsoever, but if Crossmaglen make it through and make to play Kilcoo, that will just be a mouth-watering time. Like, geez, you'd want to go to it, even though you're so far down south, you'd even want to go to that match. Like, it's an incredible spectacle, really, Kilcoo against Crossmaglen. So, you'd kind of be hoping for a Crossmaglen win, considering the fixture that potentially could be on your horizon. But, like, Ballybay will have some shock up their sleeve, I'm sure.
That's... The tension's building for it already. Mr. Prendergast, this game is going to obviously be live for everyone to be seen. I think it's the first game in a couple of weeks that we're really, really looking forward to this being shown live on the public broadcaster. But no, we can't wait for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's going to be a very, very entertaining game, I'm sure. Like, I think a lot of us really want to get a good look at Crossmaglen. Like, obviously they were playing against Silverbridge, I remember, on TG Carr that weekend, but obviously they've been on Armagh ATV a lot of the other times. So yeah, look, it's going to be a very, very fascinating game. Hopefully it's entertaining. Like, judging off the way Crossmaglen have played, they seem to be very attacking, so I don't think we'll see too much overly defensive football. Hopefully maybe Ballybay might sit in a bit, but I think with Crossmaglen and the talent that they have, like, why would you get men behind the ball? Like, when you have Rian O'Neill, Jamie Clark, Usheen, or Keane McConville. Obviously Usheen's not playing anymore, but you've got the son Keane still lining out. And obviously
it's not his son. It's not his son. I think it's his cousin. It's
his cousin, is it?
Oh, okay. Usheen's not that old.
He's not that old, is he? Okay, fair enough.
He doesn't even look like him. Come on.
I thought that was his son. No, I thought they were.
No, he's his cousin, or it'd be his first or second cousin. I'd say. Yeah, no, Oisin only has a few
fair enough.
Little kids, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, Jesus, if there's more McConvilles on the way, then Jenny, the rest of our ma better watch out. Like, you know.
In fairness, there's about 50,000 McConvilles down there. Can't keep up with them all on Twitter.
There has been. In fairness, there has been. I know, but look, nonetheless, anyway, with those players in the team, like Aaron Kiernan's still knocking about as well. So like you'd fancy Crossmaglen. Let's be perfectly honest with the talent levels that they have. Don't know too much about Ballybay, to be honest. Obviously Desi Ward's in there, Paul Finley as well. So look, Scottstown
Joe
were a
Riley
team.
as well.
Yeah, like Scottstown were a team I was thinking for a while that could maybe make a push for Ulster, but it just never really materialised. I don't know if Monaghan club football is at the highest level right now, to be honest, especially considering how dominant Scottstown have been in the last couple of years. So, yeah, look, you'd be fancying Crossmaglen to get the victory anyways.
First round of Ulster lads where Crossmaglen really want to be back, and the first time since 2019. So a bit of a famine nearly for them. It's mad to think that for the club, the success that they've had, I suppose, Matthew. And look, they'll really cherish this opportunity again. It's a very winnable game. Don't get me wrong, Monaghan teams, Ballybay will be very sticky, but going in with lots of confidence. Keane McConville 8 points the last day, as you were rightly saying. Jamie Clark didn't even score the last day out. He'll be looking for a big game, but going in with a good bit of confidence to this one.
They are, yeah, and it's interesting what Aaron mentioned about Ballybay, to be honest with you. Like, I think Clontiver's won a few championships, but Scottstown won the majority of them. And from what I was hearing about Monaghan football, Scottstown weren't even the best team in it this year. They were very off it. So, like, it does probably show that Monaghan football is kind of off at a small bit. Like, Crossmaglen are a very good side, and you just have to look at their team sheet. It's almost like a county team. You could basically put orange jerseys on the Crossmaglen players and put them out for, and they'll do. So it's an incredible lineup, and yeah, you'd expect them to win it. You'd really expect them to put a book in on Ballybay, but they could sit back Ballybay. Maybe it's the best chance they've got.
That's what I'm thinking.
Maybe, yeah, like Paul Finley, would he have the energy to run up and down? Like, I've had the situation in the Cork Nemo Rangers, big favourites against Carbery Rangers, and a similar age fella, John Hayes, played for Carbery Rangers and played him as a sweeper. It was kind of a stupid decision in the end because he had to run up and down the pitch, and he was 38 years of age. I hope Ballybay won't do that with Paul Finley. I hope they aren't that mindless, really, but they probably won't, to be honest. They probably have Desi Ward doing that, but we'll have to see. I think Crossmaglen should ease to victory, though. They have the panel, they have the players. Like, the prospect of playing Kilcrew in the next round is so appetising.
Yeah. What would be your kind of take on that, Aaron? Like, obviously, they will be going in with lots of confidence, but obviously, Monaghan teams, you don't know what this Ballybay team could really come up with on Saturday night. It'll be a stiff test for Crossmaglen, and obviously we talk about Crossmaglen, maybe Johnny Murtaugh, like he's been saying in recent weeks, they're not fully back. It's not the Crossmaglen maybe team of 14, 15, 16, but it's shaping up to kind of get back to them levels, you might have to think.
Yeah, like, well, I suppose, like, they've obviously had a lot of young players come in, like, obviously, Keane McConville, as we mentioned, Ronan Fitzpatrick, obviously got Jamie Clark back integrated into the team. So there's probably a lot of pieces to the puzzle that Crossmaglen have needed to put together. And even Rian O'Neill, a lot of people forget, is still very young himself. So they would have a lot of younger players in the side. So whether they maybe have the physicality at this moment in time to compete with the likes of your Kilkews and some of the other best clubs in Ulster, I'm not so sure. But no, look, I suppose what Matthew was saying there, like, Ballybay are probably going to sit in and be defensive. And I think for Crossmaglen, we know they have the talent. It's just going to be one of them things of being patient on the ball, like not rushing chances, not shooting from ridiculous angles or anything of that nature. And they certainly have the talent to come through the game. Like, and a few times in Armagh, like, they were even, I think in the quarterfinals, they went to extra time. So it hasn't been smooth sailing. Like, they've looked very good in the semi-finals and the finals with double-digit victories, but it's certainly been far from perfect for them so far anyways. But, like, looking at the talent levels, like, obviously with club football, a lot of the time you look at the inter-county players or you look at the star names and you say X team should beat Y team. But as we know in club football, a lot of the time it doesn't happen. Like, you just have to look at Derry Connolly Harps last year, who turned over Dromore, the Tyrone champions. So, look, shocks can happen in football. If Ballybay can build up a bit of a lead, maybe pressure starts to build for Crossmaglen. Young team, could they panic in that scenario? It's obviously been a long time since they have come through Ulster. So who knows? But, if Crossmaglen can start fast and build up a big lead, you'd imagine, like, it'd be very, very hard for Ballybay to pull it back from there.
Yeah, lads, can't wait for that game on Saturday night. It will be brilliant. And then moving on to Sunday's action, lads, in the Leinster Club Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. Lots happening here, lads. It's Ratoath against Road in Park Talton at 2 p.m. Mr. Hurley, this will be an intriguing game. Obviously, Road convincing wins the last day out in the ultimate final, and obviously Ratoath, a great win for them the last day out. I feel this game will go right down to the wire.
It should do, yeah. Like I looked at road scores. I've been doing scores now for the provincial championship, so I've added the county point scores as well. And Roy McNamee got a goal the last game. Noel McNamee got 5 points. Anton Sullivan's in this road team, so it kind of shows the amount of Offaly players they have. It's incredible, really. And Ratoath have been at it for a few years now. Like they've been meet champions. I don't know what the record is specifically, but they've won a load of championships over the last few years. Obviously, David Brady's their manager, so it tells you that they're a competitive bunch, really. And geez, did you see the fight, lads, between David Brady and the young team manager as well? Jeez,
I hope David's all right. Like, it looked like a very ferocious fall. I hope he made a quick recovery. Christ bless and save us.
He did an interview with Off the Ball actually after the game, so I think he should be fine. I honestly think he should be grand.
I love the kind of laying down on the ground and being look like this. It's a bit like when you're playing GTA or something, and you punch someone and they fall over and they're just gone, that way. Like.
He's an awful man. And talking all sorts of skullduggery the next day and Off the Ball, but oh, look at what's that saying? Bullshit walks. But okay, Mr. Hurley, you're saying?
Yeah, like, geez, I was going to mention his interview on Off the Ball as well. Like, Ashton O'Reilly was asking him a few questions and things like that. Said what goes on behind the scenes. And David Brady looked at her just weird and stuff like that. And Jesus, I don't think he's a happy manager somehow, really. But anyway, like, they should be a good team, Ratoath. Like, I looked over their team, like Conor McGill at full back. I've been impressed with him in the Meath team. Eamon Wallace scored 3 points for playing the Meath final against Summerhill, which was a ferocious battle. Jack Flynn is a good young player. Johnny McGowan's a good player. Brian McMahon's an electric forward as well. So they have a very good team all over the field. So this should be a very intriguing encounter. But look at that side of the draw generally. Both these sides would fancy a Leinster final appearance. And you know what you're saying? Once you go into a Leinster final, anything can happen, especially in Croke Park where, the spaces are open and you can play a nice brand of football. Ratoath maybe suits that more, in my opinion. They have some nice footballers there. So there could be an opportunity for one of these two sides to make a run at the provincial championship.
Absolutely, Mr. Hurley, absolutely. Then moving on to it's the Downs of Westmeath against the Mary's RD of Louth in TEG Cusack Park, Mullingar, 2 p.m. on Sunday. Aaron Prendergast, what are you thinking for this game?
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one anyway. Like, looking at the Downs and sort of the journey they've been on. Obviously, won their first county title in 17 years, and like I think we were speaking about St. Lomans before in the past about some of the talent levels of players that they have, and John Heslin and Roland O'Toole. But obviously, what a huge win it was for the Downs to turn them over with the likes of Luke Loughlin in there. So, and Noel Mitchell, who's another familiar player in around the Westmeath panel. So, yeah, look, I mean, going up against RD St. Mary's, I'm going to be honest, I don't know too much about them. But I was looking at some of the players that be on their team, and Tom and Liam Jackson are 2 players who would be familiar with from Louth, and they've got Kieran Keenan coming off the bench as well. They had a couple of injuries from what I heard the last day against Colmkill of Longford, and still managed to come through and get the victory. So, much like the scenario with Ratoath and Road, like, I think either one of these two will be feeling like we might have a run in here potentially to go to a Leinster final. Like, I think outside of Kilmacud Crokes, there's really not much between a lot of the teams. Like, I think maybe you'd put Naas as the number 2 team in Leinster, but outside of that, like, I don't think there's much between a lot of them. And I think a lot of the games would be very competitive. Like, I remember in the Leinster Championship last year, you'd late goals, drama, games going to penalties, all the rest. Remember Blessington came from behind against Mullinyochta with a huge comeback. You had that Dara Kirwan goal against Tullamore. Like, so a lot of these Leinster Club Championship games tend to be very competitive, tend to be very entertaining, and I wouldn't expect anything different. But yeah, like, in terms of a winner, I don't know, like you'd look at the Downs, obviously coming through Westmeath, like you'd surely feel that the Westmeath club football standard would be a little bit higher than Louth, so I'd probably maybe give the Downs the edge there. But look, we've seen Louth teams produce in the past, so no, look, I'm sure it'll make for a fascinating game for both sets of supporters.
Yeah, the beauty of club championship, lads. These games are very, very hard to call. And obviously, Palatine Carlow v Port Arlington off leash in Networks Cullen Park at 3 p.m. Obviously, Palatine, a great win the last day out. Obviously, that game was live in RTE. And then Port Arlington off leash, obviously, had a good journey in the Leinster Club last year. But Mr. Hurley, another very tight game to call.
It is, yeah. Like I watched Palatine the last game as well in RT, and I was really impressed with them. Their forward line of Conor Crowley, Josh Egan, I thought they were absolutely superb, and they play football the right way as well. You look at Port Arlington, I think Jake Foster might be out for this game because he got a straight red card at the preliminary round. I might be wrong though, maybe. Well, who knows? Like anything you put to the GA now, they'll overturn it. So, you know, so he might get off. He might just get off. But yeah, farmers they're missing Mr. Jake Foster. Like Colin Murphy's a very good player with 110 so far between the county final and the Leinster preliminary round. Scott Osborne from goal is very good. Paddy O'Sullivan got a late goal last time out against in the preliminary round against Castleton and Millow. So they have some very good players at Port Arlington. I was very impressed with them against Kilmacud Crokes last season. They could have easily beat them in Croke Park. So like they're a good side. Palatine, they're a good side as well. It's a very tight game to see a winner in this. I'd slightly go for Port Arlington because they have the experience of last season, but then again, like Palatine could shock us with Josh Egan or Conor Crowley turning up the style. Shane O'Neill's another good player. Andrew Creho is a very good player. Tom Sheehan has 2 goals so far as well, between county final and preliminary round. So they have some very good players as well. So, but I'd show stage is probably to Port Arlington in this one, but it'd be a very tight game again.
Absolutely, or Mr. Early, absolutely. And then moving on to the big one, lads. Kilmacud Crokes of Dublin v Naas of Kildare in Parnell Park at 3:30 on TG Car. Mr. Prendergast, this will be an absolute mouth-watering game. Naas would love nothing better to try put one over these lads. Obviously, the form of Shane Walsh going into this is a big talk point. Mr. Mannion is out injured, but I think most of the country will be watching this game at 3:30.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, it was obviously the 2 teams in the Leinster final last year, and certainly on paper, on form, probably the 2 best teams in the province at this moment in time, meeting on the opening game. And yeah, like I suppose as you were saying there, like Kilmacud Crokes are the All-Ireland favourites at the moment, and for good reason when you look at obviously how well they done last year, and then you add a superstar of Shane Walsh into the team as well. Like it's going to make them All-Ireland favourites. Like it has been interesting with them though, because they definitely haven't clicked into gear so much so far. Like they weren't particularly brilliant, I felt, against Nafina. Like Shane Walsh stood up and scored 4 brilliant points, and really stood up in the second half and sort of dragged his team over the line. But you know, like a lot of the games in Dublin have been quite scruffy and low scoring, even against Coola as well. Like they had to really sort of dog their way through that game against Thomas Davis. They started quite slow. They conceded 1-1, I think, in the opening 5 minutes of that game. So they have started a lot of games slow, and they've sort of left it late to dig themselves out of trouble. Like Nafina were leading at half-time, led for the majority of the game, and it was really only in the final sort of 10-15 minutes where Crokes really turned it around. So a team like Naas with a lot more experience, having obviously come through Kildare with some of the talent levels that they have as well, and in Dara Kirwan, it's going to be interesting, all right. Like I'd imagine they'll probably put Owen Doyle, I'd say, on Shane Walsh. I think he'll be the man probably picking up Shane Walsh. You know, if you can limit him, like there are other players who've been stepping up for Crokes though as well. Like Darragh Mullen, I think, has been in good form in the club championship this year. Craig Diaz has looked very good as always as well. Rory O'Carroll, we've seen his 2 goals against Temple Oak. So they've been very good defensively as well. Like haven't conceded too much, you know, apart from that goal versus Davis. So look, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting games. I've said it's going to be at the game. And look, I obviously want Kilmacud Crokes to go through, like as a Dublin man, but like hopefully Naas can put it up to them. And like I do think it will be a close game. You know, you've seen Naas last year and even this year as well. Like they're definitely building something at the moment. in that part of the county. Like they've won back-to-back doubles, similar enough to Kilmacud Crokes. So, you know, I could see them causing one or two issues for Crokes, all right.
What about yourself, Mr. Hurley? Obviously, a mouth-watering game to look forward to on Sunday.
It really is, yeah. Like, coincidentally, you know, if I haven't seen Crokes in full, I've seen them in highlights and stuff like that. And I know Shane Walsh is an excellent player, but this will be the first time I've seen them in the full match. Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, touch wood, that I'll see it on TG Carr unless something else turns up out of the blue. But yeah, it should be a very, very interesting game, this match. But Naas, I think they'll be reeling after last year, like that Leinster final. Like, he won that game. If Dark Huron was on the field that day, they could have easily turned over Kilmacud. So, but then again, I think this Kilmacud team is absolutely superb. You look at Shane Walsh, you look at Craig Dias in midfield, you look at Rory O'Carroll in the back line. Like, that's three different positions: backs, forwards, and midfielders. You know, that's incredible. So I think this Kilmacud team is primed to do greatness. But as we seen last weekend, with the Bars losing against Nemo and with the way the club championship is going over the last few seasons, nothing is guaranteed. This Naas team will put it up to Kilmacud, and it should be a very interesting game. I'm not sure will Naas employ a simpler tactic to what we're suggesting that Ballybay do against Crossbeglen. Maybe put a sweeper there, maybe get an extra man back and do a defensive system, but we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully I'll be similar to Aaron. Hopefully Naas put up a challenge, because that's what we want to see. We want to see competitive games. We want to see Kilmacud being given a good game, really. So yeah, it should be a very interesting game.
Yeah, lads, can't wait for it. And I suppose, obviously, you know, Shane Walsh, the talking points coming into this, and I suppose this is the first. I know obviously Nafina put in a really good shift against Kilmacud in the Dublin final, but this feels like it's the first big, massive test for Kilmacud in this All Ireland quest. Aaron, and you know, Naas have the likes of Leper Callan still going strong. Owen Doyle, obviously Mr. Kieran as well. So it'll definitely not be easy for the Croakers.
Yeah, and I think Paddy McDermott's still in there as well. Like, so I mean,
Yeah.
they've got like an array of players there, like, that could really do damage for Kilmacud Crokes. And yeah, like, it's interesting. All right, it's probably a rare scenario where your toughest test of the province comes in the first game, and I think for Naas that might even be a good thing, because like, if Kilmacud Crokes, like, for example, if Crokes come through this game, they'll play the winner of Palatine or Port Arlington, which, like, I think Crokes will probably win a bit more convincingly than this one, and that probably gives them confidence. They'll know more about players, they have more time to get players back from injuries and all the rest. So, and it's in Parnell Park as well, which I actually think will suit Naas more so than Kilmacud Crokes, because thinking Croke Park and the big open space with Shane Walsh and Craig Diaz, who, you know, like, really love to spread the play. They're obviously a lot more familiar with playing there than a team like Naas. Although they would be more familiar in playing in Parnell Park. I'm not too sure if Naas have actually ever played there before, but, you know, like, it is a much tighter pitch. I'm sure Naas will bring a lot of supporters down as well. It will be interesting to see how they play, all right, because, like, I haven't seen them play now. I've only kind of seen highlights, and they did seem to be very attacking a lot of the time in the Kildare Championship. But then again, they were the favourites in almost every game that they played. So, like, it is going to be interesting, all right, to see whether they do get a lot of men behind the ball and play with a sweeper and sort of just stick on Doyle on Shane Walsh. But then again, I don't even know if that works, to be honest, because, like, with Walsh and some of the other lads in the Crokes team, like, they can pick scores from 20, 30 yards. Walsh in particular, like, he can drop back in, do a bit of work around the half-forward line. Like, I think if you're going to beat Crokes, like, you just need to go at them from the get-go and sort of just ambush them, ruffle them a little bit. Because, like, with Nafina and Thomas Davis, that's what they done for the opening 30, 40 minutes, and it worked. It was just they couldn't sustain it for the last 20 minutes. So yeah, like, I think that would be probably Naas's best approach. But yeah, I think most likely the story is going to be about Shane Walsh once again, probably once the final whistle blows.
Yeah, absolutely, lads. Absolutely. And again, we cannot wait for this weekend. And obviously, the last game of the weekend, lads, the Limerick Senior Football Championship final. It's Adair v Newcastle West in Kilmallock at 3 p.m. Mr. Hurley, what is the verdict on this one?
You probably have to fancy Newcastle West in this. Like, they weren't impressive in the Munster Championship last season against Sussex Stacks. In fact, Stacks absolutely annoyed them, and Stacks recently got relegated in Kerry, so maybe Limerick football isn't on the upward trajectory, and the winners of this will play the winners of Clonmel Commercials and Nemo Rangers. So from a car point of view, it'll be a very interesting game. Adair, Newcastle West do have good players like Keane Sheehan and Ian Corbett. But I honestly think that they'll get over the line in this. I really think so. Like they should get over the line. Newcastle West are a pretty good side. Adair are pretty new to this. They're more say a hurling club. So like I'd say Newcastle West should get over the line. It's the last senior football championship final in the county terms anyway. So yeah, it's a bit of a downer to go down because I don't think Limerick club football is at the races particularly. So yeah, I'd say Newcastle West should ease the picture in this.
Absolutely, that's absolutely. I suppose to wrap up, Mr. Prendergast, what would be your bet of the weekend and player to watch?
Bet of the weekend, I'd probably go for Palatine to beat Port Arlington. I really like the look of them in that game against St. Patrick's. I know a lot of people were talking about the standard of club football and Wicklow and everything else, and sort of saying, you know, St. Patrick's ran up to it and everything else. But I thought Palatine were really, really good. So I'd probably go with them as my bet of the week. And then player of the week, yeah, that's a difficult one. I mean, Shane Walsh is the very obvious one, isn't he? Like, I think,
yeah,
I'll give someone else maybe. Outside of that, I don't know. I can't. Maybe Niall McNamee of Road against Rathouse. Maybe he'll.
Mr. McConville, Ballybay.
Yeah, he'll turn it on again. Maybe Keane McConville, who obviously isn't Oisin's son. They're not all related in those parts or whatever, you know.
Brilliant stuff. Mr. Hurley, what about yourself?
It's kind of hard to see a story the weekend because I think all the games will go as expected. If I was to be so, I would say Ratho to beat Road because Road have been in the Leinster Championship a few seasons more than Ratho. I think it's Ratho team, and I don't usually rate Meath football as a Cork fan, to be honest with you, but I think Ratho will be an excellent side. I think they'll do well against Road, and they probably beat them. As for player of the week, obviously, as Aaron said there, it'll probably be Shane Walsh, but I'm trying to pick someone different, and I've come up with someone different. Darragh McConnon from RD St. Mary's. I think this guy, he scored 3-6 between county finals and preliminary round in Leinster, so all from play. So he's a pretty good player. I think he's one to watch. And RD St. Mary's, they won that Fada Championship in 2014, under 14 level. A lot of players have risen up through the ranks and thereby bet actually to reach an Leinster final. I think this RD St. Mary's team is pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, I'll go with one, lads. I just for the crack more than anything, I suppose, might go Crossbaglen Rangers and Ballybay a draw. I might just go down to the wire. I don't know what you think of that. And then maybe, look, it's hard to look by Shane Walsh and some of the lads, but we will wait and see. It's a rip-roaring weekend we have ahead of us, lads, and we cannot wait for it. Mr. Prendergast, Aaron Prendergast from GA Fan TV, Matthew Hurley from GA Statsman. Thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by urgarich.com. Use the program JMac podcast to get 15% off on their glorious website. Lads, have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
No, well, top man, John.